Canoopsy here, and welcome to the Phone Battles. In today's episode, we're going to be comparing the iPhone 7 Plus to the Galaxy S8 Plus. Now, if you're a longtime viewer of this channel, you're going to remember some older episodes of the Phone Battles, and things have changed a little bit. I'm ditching the point system to make it a bit more easier to understand, and even make it a bit more fair overall. At the end of the video, I'll be summarizing all the pros and cons of each of these phones, and giving you my personal recommendation. So without further ado, let's get started. If you're looking at a phone all day, every day, you want it to look great, and the Galaxy S8 Plus is a clear winner here in some cases. When you first see it, the whole front of the phone is basically a screen, and I think that's a pretty good look. And the glass back almost merges with the glossy aluminum frame, creating a seamless overall look. In contrast, the iPhone 7 Plus is made of aluminum, and it does look pretty good, but it's a design we've seen for the last little while from Apple on their phones. The new matte black is definitely nice, and the phone for sure is still gorgeous, but looking at the phones side by side, the thick bezels of the iPhone seem really off after using the S8 Plus for just a few days. Some other housekeeping details: the buttons on the iPhone tend to feel better than the Galaxy S8's buttons. The somewhat virtual home button on the iPhone feels infinitely better than the Galaxy S8's virtual home button, where you have to press pretty hard for it to activate any sort of vibration, but besides that, it just feels like a normal software button. Also, as you know, the iPhone has no headphone jack, while the S8 does have a headphone jack, so if you just need to have a headphone jack, the Galaxy S8 is your clear choice here. But in contrast, the Galaxy S8 speaker is total garbage. It sounds like you're in a fish tank filled with water and you have bubble wrap on your ears. It just doesn't sound good at all. While the iPhone speaker system is much better, and it's actually stereo, so it comes out of the bottom and the front, so it's kind of front facing too. And both phones are water resistant, but the S8 has a higher IP rating, and the S8 also has a micro SD card tray, while the iPhone has no expandable storage. And while the S8 Plus has many methods to actually unlock your phone, I do miss the front fingerprint scanner. The back placement is just not good at all, and it's probably the most hated thing about the Galaxy S8. I put a dbrand skin on the back of my S8 Plus as it adds difference in texture from the glass and the scanner, making it much easier to find, and these skins just look great. If you want one of these for your phone, link in the description. On the S8, there's also the iris scanner, and it is pretty fast when you're very close to it, but it's kind of picky if you're too close to it or if you're too far away, and mostly it can just be a slow overall experience, especially when you compare it to the 7 Plus's very fast fingerprint scanner. I'm just gonna say it now, the S8 Plus has the best display on any smartphone. It's 2960 by 1440 at 6.2 inches, and it's such an odd resolution because of just how tall the display is. It does cause trouble for some applications, but you can punch in and fill the screen with the side effect of some croppage. Most developers can fix these issues, except for video sites like YouTube, where videos aren't filmed in an 18.5 by 9 aspect ratio by many people. So phones with very tall displays with wide aspect ratios will always have issues like this, so just something to keep in mind. But besides that, and it's not really that big of a deal, there's really no complaints about this display. It fills the entire phone, and details like contrast and color vibrancy are absolutely superb. And compared to the iPhone's display, you can really see a huge difference in saturation. And the iPhone's display is also 5.5 inches at 1080p. While these colors aren't really accurate, most people actually prefer how these colors look, so you're not going to really hear any complaints about that. And you can also adjust these colors in the settings as well. Now, this being all said, the iPhone's display really isn't that bad though. It's much more accurate, has good brightness, and sharpness is pretty good for what is effectively still a 1080p panel. One thing not on the S8 is 3D Touch. That's gotten a lot better and is much more useful now, but it's not really totally necessary on Android. I haven't really missed it while using the S8. Both phones have the absolute best specifications on each platform, and they are of course very different, and the Galaxy S8 Plus by numbers technically has better specifications, but what really matters here is performance. And just opening and closing applications, the S8 Plus is just slightly faster than the iPhone in some cases, as you can see here. Now, this test is totally unscientific, and I can see the comments right now saying I'm cheating in some sort of way, but I'm just opening and closing applications. That's pretty much it. And of course, daily usage for you may be way different, and the S8 Plus isn't always this fast. It does lag slightly, and over time the S8 Plus will likely decrease in speed, but only time will tell. Each phone gets me about a full day of battery life and a bit more percent the next day, usually about 20% or 30% to get me about till the afternoon or so, and I'm a pretty heavy user. Just a quick detail, I've been using the S8 Plus in the highest resolution WQHD mode, as well as pretty high brightness as well. So if you tone down that brightness and use a lower resolution mode, expect even more usage time. Don't expect crazy amazing battery life on these phones, but generally good battery life is pretty much where it's at. But where Samsung wins here is the huge amount of charging options. There's fast charging, there's wireless charging, there's fast wireless charging. I'm not totally sold on wireless charging yet, but fast charging is seriously amazing. And also finally having USB-C is extremely awesome, and I kind of wish the iPhone had USB-C. Now, software is very different on each of these phones. The Galaxy S8 Plus is far from stock Android, but it's not too bad, and the iPhone 7 Plus, of course, is iOS. I don't want to open the iOS versus Android can of worms, but I'll simplify it down as much as I possibly can. The S8 Plus does have a lot more features than iOS, and in some cases more features than stock Android as well. And you know all about iOS already. A lot of core, cool features, but not things to satisfy every possible user. You're going to get a lot of software updates on the iPhone pretty much instantly and for a pretty long time, and if you live in the Apple ecosystem already with like an iPad or a Mac of some sort, it's great to have a full Apple setup. It just makes it much more fluid and the experience is just much better. The S8 Plus though, in terms of features and things it can do, far surpasses iOS. One major example that summarizes the S8 experience is something as easy as taking a screenshot and sharing it. It's much more simple on the S8 than it is on iOS, which is actually kind of strange to think about, as Apple prides itself in overall simplicity. I find that Samsung software here is all about convenience and giving people every possible feature they may need, and a lot of stuff you're never going to touch, but if you need it, it's there. And the cameras. Here's where things get interesting. The selfie camera on the 7 Plus is 7 megapixels versus 8 on the Galaxy S8. The iPhone's pictures tend to be a bit more color accurate and do look better, but the Galaxy's photos smooth everything out, and it also has autofocus, which is great for vlogging in video mode. And for the rear cameras, the iPhone has dual 12 megapixel rear cameras, while the S8 has one 12 megapixel camera. The dual cameras in the iPhone are great for zooming in and also have a portrait mode too, which blurs out the background and makes the foreground stand out. But head to head with their main shooters, it's definitely very close, and the S8 leads with some areas and the iPhone leads with other areas. Bit of a different angle, but I want to actually compare some of these pictures from each of these cameras in real time and give you a few points that are really important to know about that I couldn't normally explain. I want to show you these pictures and talk about these right now. So here we go, iPhone versus Samsung outside right now. So on the Samsung picture, you can instantly see that it's a lot more cooler, the tones in the bark, while the iPhone picture is a lot more warmer in this case, as you can see. And then background bokeh, you can see the Galaxy S8's bokeh looks pretty good, I think. It looks really nice. There's a bit of noise in the background over here too, as you can see. On the iPhone, there's less noise overall, but the bokeh here looks kind of muddy almost like an oil painting compared to this, which looks a bit more natural. Two more quick pictures here. This one is the iPhone picture and this one is the Samsung picture. The Samsung picture does look much brighter, as you can see, especially in the shadows compared to the iPhone picture, where there's a lot more dark shadows in this case. Now in terms of close-up detail, let's zoom in here on this G. And this is on the Samsung over here, and here it is on the iPhone. You can sort of see the difference here in terms of detail when zoomed in. The G on the Samsung looks very sharp, very clean outline, while on the iPhone it looks very muddy, very grainy, doesn't look very crisp, doesn't look very sharp. This is the iPhone, this is the Samsung. So these two pictures shot on each of these phones are incredibly different when you actually analyze them up close. So on the iPhone, the sky is a lot more pale here, it isn't as colorful. While on the Samsung, it's a lot more saturated, a lot more deep. And here in the tree for the Galaxy S8, you can see the shadows here on these branches are a lot more pronounced, a lot more dark. While on the iPhone, there are some shadows here and there, but they're not really as sort of pronounced as the Galaxy S8. Now here we have two very low light pictures. The iPhone picture is this one, and the Galaxy picture is this one. Now right off the bat, the Galaxy picture is a lot brighter, but the negative here is the amount of grain compared to the iPhone pictures, a lot less grain in this one. Now, I think the iPhone picture does look better because of this lack of noise, but if you want to zoom in, you're not going to get as much sharpness, as much crispiness as the Galaxy S8. And use a few more lower light pictures from each of these phones so you can kind of compare on how low light performs on each of these devices. So in summary, here are my final thoughts. If you want the best looking phone, the S8 pretty much wins. There's some trade-offs in terms of design features, as you know, like the fingerprint scanner versus a headphone jack on the iPhone, speaker quality, and if the microSD card is really that important to you. The iPhone still looks awesome though regardless, and the display, there's really no competition. The S8 totally wins this one. The S8 is very similar to the iPhone in terms of speed, but they are fairly comparable overall. The phones have similar battery life, but the S8 edges out the iPhone in terms of usage just by a little bit, and it also has, of course, all of those amazing charging features, while the iPhone just has the cable, and that's it. Software is definitely debatable for each user, but iOS is more about simplicity and to a fault almost, while the Samsung software on Android is all about giving you every possible feature you may ever need in some point in your life. And I think the cameras are pretty comparable, but I'm leaning a bit towards the iPhone for some situations, while the S8 is better for other situations like low light. So if I just had to recommend a phone for you to buy right now, it would probably be the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus. There's a lot of great things about this phone, and it's a really amazing, futuristic, beautiful looking phone with an awesome camera. Now there are a few shortcomings, as you know, like the fingerprint scanner for example, and a few other small details, but overall it's an absolutely amazing package if you don't mind those shortcomings and you don't mind using Android. If you just don't want the Galaxy S8 Plus for whatever reason, the iPhone 7 Plus is still seriously a great option. Now keep in mind, it is about 6 months old, so there is an upgrade coming very soon, and if you buy it like right now, you may regret not waiting just a little bit longer for the iPhone 7S or the iPhone 8 or whatever it's going to be called, and this is obviously going to get a price cut as well. So basically here's the deal. If you want a brand new phone that has all the amazing features of a 2017 flagship, the S8 Plus is a great option. If you just need to have an iPhone for whatever reason, this is still a good option, but get it somehow on a good deal, or just wait if you can for the next iPhone to come out, because there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff you're going to be missing out on, and you're going to regret just buying this right away. And I can see the comments already. People are saying, why are you comparing last year's iPhone to this year's Samsung phone? But the thing is that the next iPhone really isn't out yet, and people are still going to be comparing the iPhone 7 Plus to the Galaxy S8 Plus on which one to purchase. So it still is a pretty valid comparison, at least in my opinion. And that's pretty much it for this video. I want to hear your thoughts about which phone is better for you personally in the comments down below. Also like this video, subscribe, and you know what to do. Hit that Taco Bell to stay updated for all my future uploads, and thank you for watching.